first snowfall of the year, and it's pretty. Hope it melts soon. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and today is Monday, November the 11th, 2019. It's Remembrance Day here in Canada, when we honor our fallen soldiers for their service in the First World War, the Second World War, the Korean War, Vietnam, Afghanistan, you name it. Seems like our world has a lot of war, but I guess that's why we honor our war vets, because they basically gave them their lives to so we can have the kind of lifestyle that we enjoy today. So anyways, I hope that you will honor your war heroes as well. And maybe someday we won't need Remembrance Day ever again, because we don't have any war. That would be a nice dream. Okay, so moving on. What am I up to? Well, I've spent the last week getting ready for the sewing retreat I'm going to this coming Thursday. And I'm looking forward to this. Basically 4 days. Well, 3 nights, 4 days, kind of a thing, at a little lodge, sort of northeast of where I live, about close to 2-hour drive away. And yeah, there'll be me and about 30-some women. I'm the only guy. It's my guild, so I'm the only guy in the guild. But anyways, I'm looking forward to it, and I've been getting all my stuff collected and together and organized. My idea is that I'm going to take kits. Well, it's not my idea. I am going to do this. I'm putting together kits of all various projects that I'm working on. I'm taking 2 sewing machines and a whole lot of other stuff, and probably I've got everything but the kitchen sink. So Walter's going to take me up that day, and he'll come back on Sunday and pick me up. And so just before I forget, there probably will not be a Stephen and Walter Live this coming Sunday, because by the time I get home, it'll probably be past 4 o'clock in the afternoon when we usually do it, and we don't like to leave it any later than that in our time. Anyways, I know for some of you, like in Australia and that, if we're a little later, it's a little better for you. But unfortunately, that doesn't work with us. There you go, time zones, right? But anyways, so if you don't see us next Sunday, if you're a regular viewer of Stephen and Walter Live, don't fret. We will be back the next week. Okay, so getting everything together for the retreat. Yeah, and that's basically what I've been up to. I've been working on some of my Christmas projects. I've been working on a gingerbread house from fabric. It's an in-the-hoop design, so I'm using the embroidery machine. But there's a lot of pieces to this little sucker, kind of like the snowman behind me, except even more pieces than him. And I think it's going to look really great when it's done. But each piece takes quite a while to sew up, usually about an hour or so. And as I said, there's a lot of pieces. So that is one of the projects I am taking with me to the retreat to finish it up there. I'm hoping to get most of my Christmas stuff, if not all of it, done while I'm at the retreat. But I've also got a couple of quilts to work on from classes, and some other little things. They're doing a couple of demos that sound kind of interesting, so I'm taking supplies for those. So yeah, I've got lots to keep me busy, and I always go to things like this with the great idea that I'm going to get so many things done, and that never turns out to be that way, but we'll see. I mean, you get socializing and things like that. So anyways, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll tell you all about it, and maybe show some video too if I think about taking some video in next week's vlog. Okay, so that takes us to the YouTube channel of the week. This has nothing to do with crafting or quilting or travel. This has everything to do with video, specifically Netflix and what's coming up on Netflix. This is a very popular YouTube channel. The guy who puts this up reviews everything that's coming up in the next month on Netflix, and I like to sit down and watch it because I can make lists of possible shows that I might be interested in seeing. So here's my review of that YouTube channel. This week's YouTube channel is one that I have found very useful, and you will too if you use Netflix on a regular basis. It's called Flick Connection, and it comes out on a regular basis reviewing what's coming up each month on Netflix. Now, Netflix has a lot of new content every month, and it's hard to keep up with what the new TV series are or movies. So the person who puts this up, he basically reviews all the upcoming movies and TV series. I don't always agree with his opinion about these movies, but at least he gives you an idea of what they might be like, and what I do is then I write down a list of titles and check them out for myself. So if you're not sure what's coming up on Netflix, or you're not sure what to watch next on Netflix, you should check out Flick Connection. So the link for Flick Connection is in the show notes below, as is the my blog, which I haven't done much with lately, so yeah, go there if you wish. And Stephen and Walter Live, the latest one, the link is below for that. And this week's book, and a product that I'm going to talk about shortly, has to do with this little guy standing behind me, okay, the snowman, which you've seen before, but I've added a new feature. And of course, there's a link now to the project I've been working on for the last 3 weeks. Last installment is coming up today on the iCraft kit for the Garden View album. And I have taken all the segments of that, put them all together as one video, and you will find them in my playlist called iCraft Kits. Okay, so that takes me to what's pissing me off this week. Well, on Saturday night, we worked at the art gallery. We were hired to be like basically servers, pick up people, bar personnel, that kind of thing, for their annual major fundraiser for the art gallery. They call it RMG Exposed. And they have this every year, and they auction off photographs that have been taken, very artistic photographs, okay, taken by a lot of prominent photographers in the area who donate these works, and people bid on them. And they make quite a bit of money from this, but basically the art gallery survives off of grant money, and so this is basically their major fundraiser for the year to cover their operating costs and everything else. So we worked at that, and that was fine. It was very busy. They had a big turnout for this. They do sell tickets. Tickets were a little cheaper this year. Last year I thought it was $60 for non-members and $50 for, $60 for non-members, $50 for members, but they dropped the prices to $40 and $35 this year, which I kind of wondered why, since it's a fundraiser. But anyways, whatever that the powers to be made that decision, and that's fine. But what I want to talk about are snobs, okay? And the snobs were all out on Saturday night. I don't know what it is about an open bar that brings out the snobs. Well, yeah, besides the alcohol. But there we were doing our job, making sure people were having a good time, you know, picking up dirty dishes and glasses, making sure the bar was stocked, and I'm going to sneeze, excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. And, you know, doing all that kind of stuff. Well, these people, you would think, like, it had an open bar. So you paid your $35 or $40, okay? A lot of them are going to get their money's worth out of that. But they start demanding things. Just to jump ahead a little bit, in the evening, there was two ladies who had been to the bar on a regular basis, okay? And they come up, it's 10 o'clock, we're packing the bar up. This event ended at 10 o'clock. We're packing the bar up. So people are leaving at this point in time. Not these two ladies. They come up to the bar and they basically want another glass of wine. And we said, well, sorry. You know, we're very polite. We're sorry, but the bar is closed. Oh, surely to God, you've got some wine in the back room you can break open. No, this isn't a house party, okay? This is an art gallery. This was an event, and it had a time limit on it, and we've reached the time limit and passed it, and no, we're sorry. The bar is closed. Well, they were pretty much insistent on it, getting a little bit indignant, but we stood our ground. Because, yeah, everything had to be put away, had to be closed up. There are certain laws that govern this as well when you have an event in a public site. So, you know, we have to obey those laws or lose our liquor license. As simple as that. Well, they went away, discussed it with us. But throughout the evening, I'm not used to being a server, okay, kind of a thing. I'm not trained in this. I never worked in the restaurant business, that kind of stuff. So, I do the best job I can. I've got a tray. I'm trying to pick up glasses and things like that. Well, suddenly people just start throwing garbage at you, or they just walk by. They don't even make eye contact with you. They're blabbing to somebody else, whatnot, and they're throwing things on your tray. And I'm trying to balance these suckers, But their attitude towards us, where that, you're hired help, you're our slave kind of a thing. I have a great appreciation after this evening for people who are wait staff in restaurants and in other public facilities where you have to take orders from people or that kind of thing. Really, why treat those people like they're dogs? Okay? I would treat a dog better than some people would treat servers, But not only that, but we're in an art gallery. So suddenly, these people think they're having an audience with the Queen. They're walking around and they're looking at the photographs that are up for auction, and they're poo-pooing this and they're pop-eyeing that. And, oh, isn't this lovely? And I love what they've done with the background. It's so black. Okay, who are you trying to kid? Really? Do you have a fine arts degree? Well, don't get me started on the fine arts degree, because not only are the people who came to this very snobby, but the people that work full-time in the art gallery, there's several of them in there that are just as snobby as these people. So I guess it was an evening of snob meet snob kind of a thing. The reason I say that is because in my time of being a volunteer there's a few individuals who, because I don't have a degree in art, they look down their nose at you as if you wouldn't know what you're doing. I'm sorry. I have several degrees. 3, to be exact. No, they're not in art. Okay? But I don't lord that over people. Really? I worked as a teacher. I needed those degrees to do what I did for a living. Kind of a thing. There you go. You're in an art gallery. You have a degree in fine art. Bully for you. But just because other people don't have your education in this particular field does not mean that you can treat them like they are lesser than you. And yet they do. And the patrons that came to the art gallery, they do the same thing. I don't know what it is about serving people cheap champagne for free, because that's what we had. It's not even champagne, okay? It was sparkling white wine kind of thing. But suddenly they get a fluted glass in their hand and they're all hotty-totty. Oh, my God, this champagne, it's delicious. And look at that photograph. Isn't that nice? Oh, that would look so nice over top of my whatever in your house. But just attitude. Just attitude. Now, I live in a town that is a laborer's town, okay? Our biggest claim to fame was that it had the headquarters for GM Canada located in it, and we had a huge car manufacturing plant here, GM. Most of the population that live in this area worked in some capacity for GM or related industries, right? Now that has changed over the years, but nevertheless, the place where I live is really not the cultural center of the universe like these people showing up to this fundraiser at the art gallery think it is, okay? All you have to do is go downtown Oshawa and see the street people that are there and how dilapidated our downtown core is, and you'll know that you are not in a cultural center. Now, it's great that we try, that our city does try to, with the art gallery, our libraries, and other things, are trying to, inject into this area a sense of the arts and of creativity and culture and that kind of thing. And that's great. And there are definitely some very positive pockets of this in our area. But the people who go, you think that they themselves were related to royalty. And they treat those of us that are serving them, helping them out, like dirt, essentially. So, it is what it is. I enjoyed working there that night. And actually, I'm getting paid for it. Not a lot, but that's okay. I was busy all night. I was so busy. I was up and downstairs and all over the place, pushing carts around, picking up dishes. Walter was with me. He was doing the same thing, and other people. And I'm telling you, I was kind of sore the next day. I don't know what that says about me age-wise, but I'm still a little sore. And just as an aside here, something that was, well, it could have been a real disaster. I can laugh at it now. At the time that it happened, I didn't laugh that much. We had a table set up behind the bar area. The bar is kind of a portable stand kind of a thing that they have for special events that they pull out. And somebody had set up the fluted glasses that we were to start, pouring champagne and sparkling cider into, to, when the guests came, they got a glass of this or whatever they wanted, kind of a thing, just to, the icebreaker, whatever. And they had all these fluted glasses stacked up on the table. Well, whoever stacked them up on the table had left two boxes of wine glasses sitting next to this table. And the usual procedure is we put those boxes under the table. It has a big tablecloth on it, so nobody can see underneath it. And that's where, when we need clean glasses, we go to those and get them out as we need them. So I went to put those underneath the table, and I didn't realize the two boxes were sitting on a little tiny flat cart that had wheels, because I couldn't see it. The boxes were bigger than the cart. I picked up the top box, turned. When I turned, my foot caught the wheel on this little cart thing that I didn't see. Put me off balance. So here I am with this big box of glasses, and I'm falling. Okay, I am falling. There's nothing to hang on to. I don't want to fall onto the glasses, the whole bit. So I did. I fell. The corner of the box hit the first row of these fluted glasses, and domino effect took place. And I watched, it was like in slow motion. As I'm falling on the floor, and I fell on the floor, I hit my knee, and actually I've got a bit of a bump just below my knee, and it is sore. It'll go away eventually. I'm watching all the glasses just start to tip over and hit the next row, and it goes over, and hits the next row, and it goes over. And of course there's the edge of the table at the back, and they're about to go over the edge, and some of them did. I couldn't do anything. Luckily, one of the people that works in the art gallery saw what was happening, rushed over, and she was able to get her hand sort of in behind the last row before they all went on the floor. About 3 glasses fell over, and they just shattered. So it was a great start to the night. Call me klutz. But apparently I wasn't the only klutz that evening, because we had a lot of breakage. People were dropping wine glasses everywhere, plates everywhere, because they had food at this event, the whole bit. And they'd walk away from it. This is the other thing. Brings me back to the snob. Okay? Accidents happen. Okay? It happens. We have brooms. We have dustpans. Okay? We will clean it up. That's part of our job. But people would spill things on the floor in the gallery. Okay? This is the main part of the gallery in there where they were having the auction. And just walk away from it as though it never happened. When something broke, you heard it break, but the same thing. Now, I have to admit that on a couple of the breakages, some of the people that were standing right there immediately started helping clean it up. And I just say, no. I didn't want them to get cut, for one thing. I've got the broom, I've got the dustpan. One lady's picking up shards of this broken plate, and I says, no. I says, it's okay, we'll look after that, no, not to worry. But those ones weren't the snobs. But just, whole attitude. And slopping stuff. They'd leave half-filled glasses on little bistro tables that we had out for things like this. You didn't know whether to pick them up or not if they were coming back to them. 9 times out of 10, they just left it, and they were going down and getting a new glass. Well, I usually work at an RMG Fridays, which is an event that happens once a month, and I've done bar there. And we don't go through as many glasses on one of those evenings as we did on this particular event. Again, we were running out of glasses. We were scrounging. There was about 120 people there. We have more than that usually on an RGM Friday special event. But suddenly it was like, oh, I'll take a few sips from this, I'll just leave it, and I'll get a new one. I don't know what that mentality was all about. But I guess if you're a snob, it's beneath you to reuse the same glass twice. I didn't see that in the book about being snobs, the whole bit, but I guess I better look that one up so I'm prepared next time. But anyways, so what am I pissed off at this week? Just how it is that some of these people are probably really nice people, but when they get into this type of environment, this kind of event, suddenly the snob comes out, I guess. Okay, so enough about that. So, new products. Well, you see the snowman behind me. You saw this last week. I showed it to you. It's one of those ones I did the embroidery hoop, but I got a little accessory. Now, there's a hole in the bottom of the snowman, and the idea is to put in an electric tea light. Well, I went one step better. I went on Amazon and I got this. Now, I don't know if you can see it very well, but you can see the lights going off in it. It looks really cool when it's not quite this bright at all. And what are these? Well, I'll show you. Let me pick him up here. This is what they are. They're just a little LED light. I got a box of 10 of these. They're the perfect size. I got them from Amazon. And along with the 10 of these lights, including all the batteries that are needed, comes 2 remote controls. And with this remote control, you can put this to just say a solid color. And they have quite a few colors on here. So you can just pick whatever, or you can put it on flash mode, or you can put it on, they call it strobe mode, and it just sort of fades in and fades out. You can do it on fade. Just slowly fades and changes color, which is kind of nice. Or something they call smooth, which just sort of clicks through all the colors. That's what I had it on before. You can dim them. You can do it all white. And as I said, colors, or if you hit, there's an R on here. If you hit the R, that stands for red. Red, blue, green. Okay, if I'll go back to the smooth, and it just cycles through the colors. Really cool. And of course, it has a remote control, which makes it easier for turning it on when you've got it planted under something like that. Price was great. $21.99. You got 10 of those plus 2 remote controls. All the batteries, all came with the batteries. And these little suckers are supposedly submersible too. They're waterproof. So you got a little fountain. Might be cool on that. Anyways, I thought they were really cool. And they'll work in the little gingerbread house I'm making as well. So if you're interested in something like that, I have the link below. It's for Amazon.ca. The price I've quoted you is Canadian dollars. Okay, so if you're American, it'll be cheaper. And yeah, I just thought it added an awful lot to Little Snowman. Kind of cool. Okay, so that was my new thing this week. So book reviews. Okay, in my stash, I found this. Create Your Own Greeting Cards and Gift Wrap. Great little book, especially this time of the year. I'm sure a lot of you that are crafters are thinking about making your Christmas cards. So this may give you some ideas with this, but added feature is the gift wrap. So they talk in here about cards and things, and lots of different unique styles of cards, but they also show you how to make gift wrap. And they even have templates for little gift boxes and things like that. So really, if you're into the whole thing with giving gifts like that, how to decorate bags, that kind of stuff, I think you find this really helpful. Now, what did this cost? When I bought it, it's listed on the back as $29.99 Canadian. I've had it for a long time. So, can you still get it? Yes, you can. On Amazon.ca, and the price has come down a little bit. It's $15.08 Canadian, but there is a shipping charge of $3.99 Canadian, so that brings it up to about $19. So a little cheaper. I said $29.99, so about $10 cheaper than what I paid for it originally. So, but it is available. Okay, and the link for that is in the show notes. All right, so that takes us to the last installment on the iCraft Garden View Garden View album. This is part 3. Now, originally I said that I was going to possibly use this as an actual scrapbook, but I found that it's really not big enough for 4x6 photographs or to get enough in. So I have changed my idea from that, as you'll see in this installment of the video. And so this is the final installment, and this is what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so I have finished embellishing this album, and I did it off camera because it's just a question of gluing things down, and nobody wants to watch glue dry. And plus, on top of it all, I really didn't know what I was going to do. My original plan for this album was that I thought I might make it an actual scrapbook album with pictures from a trip I had been on. But when I pulled out the pictures, which were 4x6, they really were too large for this particular album. So instead, I thought I'd make it sort of a travel theme album combined with vintage, because I just went into my stash and grabbed a couple of ephemera packs that I had and just started building it from there. So it just grew. Organically, I guess, if you can use that word. I really didn't have a definite plan. I just started grabbing things and sticking them down, and this is the end result. So I did increase the size of the rings that came with the album, because as I started adding things to this, the album was getting a little too tight. So I put new rings on, and I also embellished the rings by just grabbing some ribbon. I really didn't put a lot of thought into the colors of the ribbon. I just grabbed some off my spools I had laying around and added them just here as an embellishment to sort of cover up the stark silver color or steel color of the rings. Since this is called the Garden View album, and it has this sort of window at the front of it, I decided to back the window with a postcard that shows the Eiffel Tower of Paris. This came from one of the Graphic 45. I got a bit of a glare on this. Let's see if, I don't know if that helped any. Does that help? I don't think that helps either. Okay, so sorry about this. Bear with me as I play with the lighting. Okay, so it might be still a little bright, but there is an Eiffel Tower in the back in there. And I just added, because it's supposed to be like a window, I added some iCraft flowers and these little leaves that they have too in the ivies. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but these come with a little wire stem on them, and rather than cutting it off, I just decided to curl it around my pokey tool and just make little curls out of it. Just added another little detail. So I did glue this. Originally I was just going to have this open right up, but I thought, no, I kind of like it being one piece, so I did glue this first page, which is a chipboard piece, down. Now here's one thing I didn't think about. There we go. And here we go. So I just started, as I said, gluing down things. Now these ephemera packs that I had were, one of them came from a travel, the Graphic 45, I forget what they called it, but it was a travel-like paper pad, and I got the deluxe edition. So it came with all of these little cards and things like that. So I just started putting things down as background, so there's solid pieces. Like, for example, this one's a solid piece, and as I said, I was going for sort of a travel theme because I used some, you know, map-like paper in the backgrounds, as you saw in the last segment. And I just started putting them down. And then I started building on top of them. So here I create a little pocket and this little card. So there's journaling space, there's space on here to put a picture, whatever. You could put a picture down in here as well. And also some of my pockets, I made them from the leftover paper when I created these background papers in the last segment. Well, I had strips of that left, so in some cases I just created a little pocket, used a fancy punch on the corners rather than just a corner rounder. I had a fancy punch that kind of rounds the corner and does this little detail on here. And in places where I thought it was a little stark, I just added some washi tape. Again, I just went to my supply of washi tape and I grabbed 3 rolls of washi tape that basically suggested to me sort of travel and vintage, and just laid them down. And I didn't worry about cutting them straight. I just put them down and I tore them to give them this vintage look. I did go around the edges of some things with some ink just to make them stand out a little bit more. So here's another idea with the pocket and a couple of cards. Again, They could be for journaling, they could be for pictures. And I put this little tag on here, which also has a space where you could put some journaling, but I used it like a tab on here as well, just to break up the edges of the album a little bit, to give them a little bit more interest. And I punched holes in them and just put little pieces of ribbon in them. Again, all just to liven it up a little bit. So here's another page where I basically, over the background I created, glued down one of these postcard size ephemera pieces that are from the travel pack from the Graphic 45. I did use another set of ephemera that came from Tim Holtz that didn't really have a lot to do with travel, although in some cases some of the pieces do look like old postcards or postage stamped things or that kind of thing. But they also had some advertisements in them, and even though they're not about travel, these come from different places in the world, supposedly, according to the ads. So I thought, well, they make a nice little, this particular pack, they're fairly sturdy, they're on like photo grade paper. So one side has something printed, the other side is blank like that, and I thought it just gives another opportunity for sticking something onto this, a picture, or doing some embellishing. And some of them I cut and just made very simple pockets and just layered them in. I like the layered look in an album because it's kind of like interactive. And speaking of interactive, I created this. I took these cards that came from the Travel Ephemera Pack, and I just washi taped them, used washi tape as hinges, and so we have this little fold-out little album here. And again, you can see another one of my tabs right here. And I suppose if you want to separate this album into sections, although I only use 3 tabs, but you could, and you could label the tab for what section it might be if you wanted to. Here I just grabbed one of the pieces that looked like a tag and I just hinged it with some washi tape. And so, you know, you can put something here, you can put something there. I was looking for different ways to make elements on the pages a little bit more interactive than just, you know, something that someone would look at and just flip page from page, but each page has something a little extra on it, like this one. This is a little mini album. I just took a couple of these larger cards, folded them half, stapled them with my little mini stapler from Tim Holtz, and there you go. You've got a little booklet. Again, more room for more notes or whatever. And just to break up the space in behind, more washi tape, another one of those advertisement cards. Similarly on this page, this one I created a pocket so you could stick something in there, but this little card comes out from here. So this is like one of those little clips. I've done those in other ones before. You know, just making an embellishment, only glue it on one part and then it's a little clip. And this little card had a little house on it. I think it came from, I'm not sure where it came from, but it came out one of those packs. And I just thought it was kind of cute, again, for journaling. And it just tucks in right under there. Another one of these little booklets, but this time I kind of created a tab on here using just another piece of ephemera, and it just opens up like so. Again, another pocket, another card, more spots for journaling or pictures. And then I got the idea to take some of these cards. I had a few that were left over, but they were printed in a horizontal manner as opposed to a vertical, so I didn't really want to stick them down onto one of these pages because they'd be sideways, but I thought, well, why not just punch holes in them, put them on the rings, and there you go. You've got an extra page. It's another reason why I had to put in bigger rings. These rings might be, by the way, a little too big for this album, but then again, once you get pictures and things like that in extra, you'll want the expansion space. Another little booklet, and I used this one of these little advertisement cards, just stapled it down so you can open it. In this particular one, I put 2 of the smaller cards together and I just hinged them with washi tape. Another tab. Just get my ring here in the right alignment. And again, more space here to write on or put pictures. Again, I added another one with another card going the other way to create a tab. And just so that you couldn't see the white side, because this particular card was only printed on one side, I just added some washi tape on the other side, just so it wasn't a stark white piece hanging out. Here's a page that has
3 cards in it, another little pocket, and I varied the sizes or picked different size cards so you get sort of that layered effect, more washi tape to break up blank space. And this is another pocket right here for something that you could add to it. Another little piece. These 2 pieces came from the Tim Holtz ephemera pack, and this one, they have something to do more with maybe accounting and that kind of thing, but you know, they kind of fit. They're vintagey, they kind of go along with it fine. As I said, I'm trying to use up my stash when I make these albums, so I'm making do with what I've got. Another little card, and on this page we have a tag. I could have put a ribbon through that tag. I didn't, but I could. And the last page, or the back page, I just left plain, just like that. Since you don't want to put a 3-dimensional element on here because it's the back. And it might look nice, but it might not sit flat on your table. So there's my album all together. And actually, I think it turned out not too bad at all. And it was a way to use up a lot of my stash, especially from my ephemera packs. And yeah, it's done. It's cute. So that was the iCraft Gardened View album. And next time we'll work on another iCraft kit.
So next week we'll be starting on another of the iCraft kits. It's been a year of that, as you know. And this one's called the Invitation Scrapbook. And it looks pretty cool. And so next week we'll start looking at that and how to assemble it. Okay, so that takes us to events in the past week. Update on my mother, she's fine. Yeah, it was nothing exciting this week with going on with her. She was okay. Yeah, so short and sweet. Let's see, what else? I already talked about RMG Exposed, the fundraiser, and so I don't think there's much more to be said about that, except for I did ask one of the people that's staff there, so how did they do in the auction, and she sounded a little disappointed. She said only one of the photographs auctioned off at over $1,000, whereas last year they had several pieces that went for as high as that. So it sounded like they may not have made as much money as last year, which I'm not really sure why, although Walter said he took a look at what they had. I was too busy to pay any attention to what was actually up for auction, but he looked at them and he said they weren't as nice. Most of them weren't as nice as last year's. He said there was nothing there grabbing him that, you know, we did buy 2 last year at the auction. But this year he said there wasn't anything he really felt compelled to bid on. So I don't know, just an off year. Also makes me wonder why they had dropped the price of the tickets from last year, because really that's part of the fundraising there. And just as an aside too about fundraising, some people were giving, we had a young guy, a college student, who was the main bartender for the evening, and there's always a tip jar on the bar, even when it's an open bar. Well, people were giving him tips, and he's a college student, he needs the money, but he didn't get any of those tips because the gallery took that money and considered that donations towards their fundraiser. I thought that was just bloody cheap of them, and this goes back to my snob thing. I thought that was a snobby thing to do. Here's a poor guy, they're paying him, yes, to be bartender. They're paying him minimum wage. Minimum wage here in Ontario is $14 an hour. He probably made at the most, if they gave him, you know, 5 hours or so, that he made about $70, okay, for 5 hours work. He was a very nice young man. He was very pleasant to people, the whole bit. People were giving tips, and I think there was about $80 worth of tips in that jar. No, he didn't get that. That went back to the art gallery. That just speaks to me of cheapness, because, you know, $80 will not make the difference between the art gallery keeping its doors open or closed, but it could make a lot of difference to a young fellow who's going to college, okay, because he hasn't got any money, right? The college is eating that all up. So I just thought that was cheap. Okay, off the soapbox. What else? Well, we had our first snowfall of the season. Not unheard of in November in this area, but over the last few years, I don't know if it's because of global warming or what, it has been a little bit more rare. The thing is, what was not so much about the first snowfall, it wasn't a huge snowfall, maybe a centimeter, maybe 2 centimeters, I don't know. Just a little more than a dusting, but nothing much to get worried about. It should have all melted later in the day. Well, it didn't. It hung around for about 3 days. Now, the thing is, the weather has not been that cold. We've been hovering around -1, 0, +1, +2 Celsius. So we've been, in around the freezing point, but nothing major. And yet it stayed. The ground is still warm. We haven't really had that much frost yet. The ground hasn't frozen because it hasn't been that cold. And yet it stayed, which is weird. But anyways, as I look out this morning, most of it was gone by the weekend. However, supposedly we're expecting a big snowstorm today at some point in time. I'm just looking out my window, seeing if anything started. No, there was a light dusting of snow last night at some point in time, but nothing to, get uptight about. But now they're declaring that we're going to have maybe 15 centimeters of snow. 15 centimeters. 15 centimeters is, I don't have anything here, but 15 centimeters sounds a lot more than it is. It's not 15 inches. It's 15 centimeters, okay? So what? 2 point something centimeters in an inch. So basically 15 centimeters is maybe 6 inches of snow. That's what they're saying could fall, but it probably won't stay, although it might. But so now school buses have been canceled in certain areas in Ontario. There's no snow on the ground. Why are we canceling school buses? Well, schools are open. I guess maybe because of liability, the roads could ice up a little bit, but every year, this time, first snowfall comes and you think people have never seen snow in their life before and they drive like they've never seen snow before. We're Canadians. We get snow. We drive in it. Life does not stop because of snow. But anyways, always the storm of the century when you hear it on the weather stations. Always the storm of the century. They make it sound like, one flake falls, like Chicken Little. Oh my God, the sky's falling. Anyways, I've got a little video insert that I'm going to put in here to show you what that first snowfall looked like.
First snow of the year in our area, early November. It's actually November the 7th. And you can see our street. It's very pretty. It's not going to last. The ground isn't cold enough yet to hold it. Actually, it's lasting a little longer than I thought for today because it's not that cold out right now. It's above 0. But here's what it looks like in front of our house. And of course, with snow comes having to clean off your car, which is a pain in the butt. Oh, when are we going to Florida?
Well, not your car. Your car's in the garage.
I know. Isn't that a shame?
Oh, good. Next week, you can park your car in the garage.
Yours doesn't fit in the garage.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't. You think it does. See? You can see here on the pavement, it's all
Yours
melted away.
fits in the garage.
Yeah, but my car's
car's not any
smaller.
longer than yours.
Oh, okay. Well, big deal. Whatever. See, this is what you have when you have this kind of snow. No one likes to shovel it. Nobody wants to clean off their car. Only the kids like to play in it. And that's about all it's good for. But it is pretty, the first snowfall.
So, what's coming up? Well, the sewing retreat. That's the big thing for me. So I leave Thursday morning, come back Sunday afternoon. As I said, Walter's taking me up and picking me back up. I'm taking everything but the kitchen sink with me, and I intend to have a really good time with the girls. Meanwhile, Walter will be at home, and I don't know what he's going to do. I tried to talk him into going to this retreat, even though he's not a member of the guild. It's my guild's retreat, but we could have easily made him a member. But no, he didn't want to go. Walter's really not into the quilting part of it that much, but lately he's been working on bags, tote bags, and he really likes doing that kind of thing. And he's getting kind of fancy with his sewing machine. He's adding little decorative stitches and things like that. So on a future Stephen and Walter Live or whatever, I'll have to show you some of his bags when he gets them done. but he'll probably putter about, who knows. And I guess, you know, every couple needs a little time apart, I suppose. Not that maybe he does, not that I ever feel like that. But yeah, it'll be good. So what else? So that's about the main thing that's coming up. The week after that, we have the Guild's big quilt show, and we'll talk more about that when we get to that time. And yeah, so just as a final note, last week I talked about what am I going to do about my channel. Okay, I was concerned about the fact that I have a loyal viewership, but I don't have a lot. And I've had a few of you have made some comments and made suggestions, which I asked for, about how I could make this more appealing. And they were good ideas, and I'm going to implement some of those. And then one person did say to me, though, you know, why are you worried about that? If this is a hobby kind of a thing, if you enjoy doing it, does it really matter whether you have 100 views on one of your videos or 1 million views? If you enjoy what you're doing, just do it. And that's right. So I'm not going to worry about how many views I get on each video. I hope the people that took the time to watch it got something from it and enjoyed it. I don't worry about how much money I could be making through advertising with YouTube, because as I've told you before, I make next to nothing. It takes me 4 months to make $100. Okay, big deal. So I'm not doing it for the money at all. I could improve the videos if I sat down and did some heavy editing, but you get what you see, my mistakes and everything. The reason is I don't want to be a slave to YouTube. Okay, this is just for fun. If I have to start doing heavy editing, I'd have to start investing in software that will allow me to do that more so than I can right now. It's not worth it to me for that. As I said, what you see is what you get. Some people did suggest that I should maybe separate out my quilting stuff from my crafting stuff, because, you know, I did start this channel as a crafting channel. Okay, and yes, my tastes have changed over the time that I started this channel. I don't do as much, you know, rubber stamping, scrapbooking, card making, that even mixed media as I used to do, because my interests, you know, have shifted to sewing and quilting. Okay, and these things happen to people. You know, we don't stay the same. We develop, we evolve, we change. Okay, and so I have. I still enjoy doing the crafting, and that's why I do the iCraft kits right now on here, to satisfy my need to do that kind of thing and what my viewers may want to see as well. So I thought, well, yeah, I could separate my Idiot Quilter, which right now is in a playlist. I could start that up as a brand new channel, and I have. But you won't see it yet because I haven't populated it with any videos. And so it won't show up in the search engine on YouTube until there's at least one video in it. I'm hesitant to use that channel because when I do an Idiot Quilter video, all right, and if I was to put it in that new channel, for it to get really going, I need 4,000 views in total before I can monetize it, or before I get any kind of real interest generated in the channel. Okay, so in a sense it's like starting at square one all over again. Now that doesn't mean I might not do that. I am thinking quite seriously now of doing tutorials on the Idiot Quilter channel. Actually going through various projects. This would mean editing to a certain degree. I hesitate because I'm not an expert in quilting. I mean, I've only been doing this for just 2 years. Okay. Yes, I have learned a lot, I've gotten more proficient in many things, but there's still much more to learn. Of course, I do have a teaching background, so in doing instruction and things like that is just about second nature to me, so I wouldn't have a problem with that. I guess it's just confidence. You know, I don't want to be a snob. You know, I don't want to sit there and go, oh, you must do it this way, because there's 100,000 different ways to do it. Also, there's a lot of channels out there where people give tutorials on all this stuff that I would be giving tutorials on. So what would make mine different from theirs, kind of a thing? I don't know. So I've just put that on hold. So essentially, I'm not going to make any major changes to my YouTube channel. Okay? It is what it is. If you're here and you're watching, thank you. Okay? If this isn't your cup of tea and you want to move on to something else, then that's your prerogative. I'm not going to have hurt feelings about it. Okay? I do this because I like to do it. And that's the bottom line. Okay? So that's just a little update on what I was saying last week about my channel. Okay. So nothing else to tell you right now. Thanks for tuning in. As I said, there may or may not be, probably there won't be, a Stephen and Walter Live on Sunday, but there will be one the week after. And we had such a great discussion with everybody as we interviewed everybody that was watching and asked them different questions about their life and really got a sense of who they are. We didn't get through all my questions for that, so we're going to do a part 2 in the next Stephen and Walter Live. And there's one key question that I asked people yesterday to keep in the back of their mind, and that is, if Walter and I came to visit you, how would you entertain us? So there's an idea to think about. I think that could generate some really interesting questions. And who knows, maybe somebody will get us so enticed, tell us wonderful things that we will want to come and visit them. Who knows? Well, we'll see. Okay, you have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.